Hi there, it's Dr. Hugh Kim Lee from cgiclinic.com, and today I would like to talk to you today about violent video games and the effect and link between attention and why your child may not be able to focus their attention on things that demand their attention like schoolwork, but are able to spend hours on hours playing video games. Now I'm going to reference a paper that's an oldie but a goodie. It was written 5 years ago in 2012 by my colleagues in Singapore, Dr. Chun Guan Lim and Angela Khoo from Institute of Mental Health and the National Institute of Education in Singapore, with the help of Douglas Gentile, who's from Iowa State University in the United States. Now, they talk about two different types of attention. The attention that we talk about with ADHD, and that's the focused, sustained effort required to do activities such as study, schoolwork, sports, that require your focused mental effort. It takes time and it takes your focus, mainly the front part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, being able to plan and keep on task and not be impulsive and do something else. And there's another form of attention called visual attention, meaning the stimulation that you get in your environment, and that's feedback that you get, especially when you play video games. So there's two different types of attention. There's the attention that's sustained effort, mental effort, and then there's visual attention. And I guess that explains why some children who have difficulties with their attention are unable to sit still, focus on a page, read for longer than 10 seconds, whatever, but they're able to spend hours and hours on video games. So why are they able to focus their attention? Well, maybe it's because those video games, those TV shows, those YouTube clips are feeding them visual stimulation and giving their brain a reward, a dopamine hit in the front part of their brain that's almost like self-medicating. And that's what medications like methylphenidate, Ritalin, those kinds of medications, the stimulants, they're activating the dopamine in the prefrontal cortex areas. So, what about video games and violent video games? Well, in this paper, they also talk about how video games are able to stimulate visually through violence, and violence in video games makes you can't take your eyes off it. It excites you, it stimulates you, and just imagine like today in Adelaide this morning was actually a massive storm, right? And on the way to work, there were actually 2 car accidents on the way to work. And even though I was driving, I had to focus on driving, looking at the road, not crashing to the car in front of me. I just couldn't take my eyes off it. And although there wasn't anything particularly violent or aggressive, the results of it, I just couldn't take my eyes off the car that had the car crash and all the lights of the emergency services. So even in our day-to-day lives, there are good examples of how visual stimulation can attract our mental attention. Visual attention attracting our attention and distracting us from things that we need to focus our attention on. The other thing that I want to just talk about is they also talk about the displacement hypothesis and how the longer you spend on video games, the stimulatory activity, when you finish playing, things in the real world are very slow and boring, and whilst you're playing games, you're actually not spending the time doing activities that would develop that part of your brain, develop that sustained attention and focus for other activities such as schoolwork. So I just want to give a shout out to my colleagues in Singapore and the United States. Thanks for writing this paper and explaining to me the difference between attention and visual attention. Certainly in my own practice, I clearly remember talking to a parent who had a child with ADHD, and I simply said to them, you have to sell your child's copy of Grand Theft Auto. I don't care how you get rid of it, cash converters, Gumtree. This child is not at the age that is appropriate to play that game. And although they are telling you that they're not doing all the physical play of violence, but playing the driving aspect of the game, even those stimulatory sort of car crashes, car races, can still have a negative impact on children, especially children with attention problems. So I hope that video helps explain to you how important it is to make sure that you limit your child's use of video games, select the right video games that have more pro-social aspects, and be mindful of the violent and aggressive aspects that children play in video games. So thank you very much. See ya.